Today was day 12 and I did some screenwriting and I had a couple thoughts. I was listening to an interview a couple days ago and this writer, she was saying how her writing process has always been, rather than build the house and build the structure of the story first and then flesh out the details, it's always been the other way around, where I like this metaphor. She says that she creates a doorknob first, and then the door, and then the hinges, and then the walls and the room, and then finally the house. It comes together at the end. It's not like a frame that she builds the details inside of. And this was validating because I feel like that's the way I work too. I think when I first started writing this, I was a little bit lost because I was trying to create this frame. I was trying to figure out what I want the story to be and who I want the characters to be and everything, so I can keep the characters consistent. But I think that just felt like a lot of pressure, and it was only when I shifted to a mindset of like, oh, like, let me be inspired by this one piece of fruit that I saw, it was a pomegranate, that it started to actually, I started to actually write. I think I didn't realize how different screenwriting would be from like fiction writing or poetry or anything, because I was asking myself a lot of questions about the environment and about the like visual details that I wouldn't really think about in fiction writing, because I think in fiction writing I've, even if it's not in first person and it's a narrator speaking it, I've always kind of taken the perspective of one of the characters. So when I'm writing, I really only focus on what the character is focusing on. But because it's more of a visual story and I'm imagining like a screen with all the details in it, I have to think about all the details, what all the characters are wearing, and every single like detail about the environment. But I think being forced to flesh out all the details about the environment and everything actually did really help me like have a better understanding of what the scene was and like what the feeling was and everything. So I enjoyed that part. And I think the last thing I was thinking about was how interesting it is with screenwriting, because I feel like you really have to put a lot of trust in whoever is like going to produce the thing that you wrote. Because when I first started writing, I was trying to write down every single detail, like the way the camera moves and the like hand motions that all the characters are doing. And then I looked it up because it felt excessive, and I realized that you're not supposed to do that. That's what the director is for, to figure out how the camera moves, and the actors get to figure out how their hands move and everything. So it was really interesting figuring out that I had to like trust the fictional crew who's going to make this come to life. And one more thing. I think I also had an issue with this when I tried writing the fiction book chapter, but I found it really difficult to make the characters feel consistent. On one hand, I feel like the way to make them consistent is to try to keep in mind like specific behaviors or specific speech patterns that they have, but to me that felt very like 2D. I don't know, it felt like manufacturing a person, and I feel like that didn't feel like a real person. But then I realized that when you're telling a story, having too many contradictions just doesn't make for a good story, and making it too real of a person might just be too complicated for a story. I think I have a hard time writing characters because I want them to be real and based off of things that I have seen and things that I've known. But that means that when I'm writing it, I'm not writing a character based off of one person in my life. So this one character kind of ends up being a mixture of myself and everyone I know. But then that doesn't make for a consistent character. It doesn't make for a realistic character. So even though I'm trying so hard to make it real and make it genuine based off my experience, it just isn't cohesive. So maybe in character writing, listing out things that I want them to be and quirks that I want them to have, and motives and characteristics. Maybe that is something that would be helpful. Yeah, that's it for tonight. Goodbye.